Be very careful about taking too big a bite. Be very careful about eating too quickly. Always eat a small amount of food slowly. The last part of that rule is to stop when no longer hungry. Each time that food is squeezed across the band, it's sending a signal up to your brain saying, everything's getting pretty good down here. Now, if for one bite you have 3 or 4 squeezes, and if you have 20 bites, you're getting 60 to 80 squeezes, signalling to the brain that you're doing pretty well. Usually by that time, your satiety centre in the brain, the centre that controls your appetite, says everything's good, and is telling your brain you're no longer hungry. Listen to that, respond to that, and stop eating. You shouldn't need to eat for longer than 20 minutes. I certainly don't want you to eat for longer than 30 minutes, but for most meals you should find that 1 bite a minute and 20 minutes is enough. So don't ever expect to be full. You'll only get that feeling of fullness when you stretch something, and that's wrong. Always be listening for the signal that you're no longer hungry. That's what we want you to listen to, and that's what we want you to respond to. Never, never look for the signal of fullness. Rule number 4 is focus on nutritious foods. You can't eat very much. The amount of food that you can get into half a cup. Now we want you to use up your store of food. That's the whole aim of the exercise, is to use up the fat that you've stored. But I don't want you to suffer any deficiencies. And one of the major food items that we have to watch out for is the protein. We don't have to worry about the carbohydrates, we don't have to worry about the fats, but we do have to worry about the proteins just a little bit. I want you to eat enough protein. So when you think of that half a cup, have about 1/3 of it is protein containing food. Maybe 1/2, but at least 1/3 for most meals. That will give you enough protein. The best sources of protein, and probably the best foods that you can have after the band, are fish and or chicken and other meats if you can cope with them. And if you chew food well and you buy the very best food, you can actually eat red meat, lamb or beef, as long as it's highest quality, as long as it's cooked appropriately, which is not overcooked, and as long as you chew very small bites of it very well. But fish is by far the best. It's a very good source of protein. It's got good associated fats. It's a very healthy food to have. Other sources of protein that can be very important are eggs, dairy such as cheeses and yogurts, and lentils, beans, chickpeas will give additional very good sources of protein. But focus on protein for at least 1/3, maybe 1/2 of that half a cup. The rest of it can be vegetables or fruit. Better to have those than carbohydrates of the starch family. I really don't mind if you don't have any of those starchy foods. The foods such as bread, which can be difficult as well, but drop it out of your diet. You don't need it. Also, breakfast cereals, you don't need. Potato, pasta, rice are additional starchy foods. They can be difficult to eat. They're just fillers on top. And a small amount is okay, but don't focus on them. Focus on the protein-containing foods. Now, in addition, we also worry about what we call the micronutrients, the vitamins and the minerals. And rather than look at the foods you're eating, I would rather you take a multivitamin replacement each day, just to be sure you're getting enough of a good range of vitamins. There are various ones that are available. We can talk to you about those options, but generally plan to take a multivitamin tablet or effervescent tablet or chewable tablet or a liquid each day. Look on the packet of them make sure that they contain folic acid or folate and vitamin B12. Not all of them do, but I want you to have the ones that do rather than the ones that don't. The fifth rule is to avoid calorie-containing liquids. The band is not designed to cope with calorie-containing liquids. You can see that we're aiming to have the food squeezed across the band. The esophagus can push liquids across the band too easily and we don't get that squeezing effect. If we have a look at some very liquid type food passing across, you can see on this occasion that it passes across in one go. And so it's only going to give you at best one signal, whereas a more solid food will give you 2, 3, 4 or even 6 signals. So we get much better value from having more solid food than liquid food. The best example of good food that, however, is liquid would be soups. A very thin soup, nutritionally very good, nice to have in winter, but it won't give you the feeling of satiety that we want. If you really want soup, make a thick lentil soup. It can be very nice. Chickpeas and beans that are actually got some texture, and that way you will get that feeling of satiety as well as having your favourite soup. The liquids that you can have, firstly, are the 0-calorie liquids, and you can have as much as you like of water, mineral water, low-calorie soft drink, tea, coffee, as much as you want. And I don't dictate to you the volume you have to drink each day. The body is very good at detecting your fluid balance, and it will tell you if you want fluid. And listen to that. If you're thirsty, drink. If you're not thirsty, you don't have to force the fluid down. But be fairly relaxed about it. You can drink as much fluid as you like, and I don't mind if you drink fluid with the meal. In the earlier days with the band, we thought that was a bad idea because we thought it would encourage the food to move across too quickly. But in fact, we know the food moves across quickly anyway. We're not dependent on that. And so now we're very happy for you to have a glass of water with your meal if you would like to do that. You can drink with the meal, but don't drink as a part of the one mouthful. Take your bite of food, wait for a minute, and then have a drink. That would be fine. Now, there are 2 liquids that do contain calories which we do actually allow, and that is skinny milk or low-fat milk and alcohol. Skinny milk is helpful in adding to other foods. It's a good source of protein, a good source of calcium, and we're happy for you to have up to half a litre, 500 mils of skinny milk a day that you can add to your tea or coffee, you can add to other foods, or you could drink it as a drink if you wish to. Alcohol has been a difficult one because alcohol is a high-calorie liquid. And initially we felt that therefore wouldn't be a good idea. But we've actually tested it in our patients. We find that those who take a moderate amount or a modest amount of alcohol actually do better than the ones who don't. And therefore I'm quite happy for you to have a glass of 2 of alcohol a day. We'd prefer you to have wine, but because our data tell us that wine is probably the best, and there are many other health benefits to having a glass of red wine each day,